Day 5 will be our next to last day of touring in Vancouver. On this day we'll leave Maple Ridge and we'll drive to the Classical Chinese Garden and then take a Prince of Wales tour looking for whales. We head out a little bit later in the morning so we don't get into rush hour traffic. Soon we're entering Chinatown and getting ready to look at the Classical Chinese Garden. As we park, we see the Chinatown Memorial. It has a railway worker and a World War II vet showing the contributions that the Canadians have made to the nation. First we'll be looking at the Dr. Sun Yat-Sen Park. It's open most of the time to whoever wants to walk in. Then we'll go to the Classical Chinese Gardens and look there before shopping some. Since it's open most of the time, some homeless people use this area, and there's drug paraphernalia laying around. Let's explore a little bit. Dr. Sun Yat-Sen was a Chinese hero. He helped unite the nation after the imperial period. When it was made, this was the only classical Chinese garden outside of China, and many of the materials were brought from China itself. Let's take another look around before we leave at this beautiful classical garden. As we leave, a festival is going on, so part of the road is closed. And as we said before, this is a homeless area, and you can see this man here with all of his goods. We leave Chinatown and head downtown. Soon we're pulling into a parking lot near the White Spot restaurant where we'll be eating before going on our Prince of Wales tour. People of Vancouver really like their apartment buildings. They have thousands of them downtown. When we're through eating, we'll walk over to the Westin Hotel and get our tickets. And I'll go walking around looking in the harbor. The seaplane port is right outside the Vancouver Convention Center, and I'll spend some time and watch their operations. They have regularly scheduled flights to many of the cities in the Northwest. And now it's time to get on board and head out on our Prince of Wales trip. Soon we're leaving Vancouver behind and passing Brockton Point on Stanley Island, heading toward the Lionsgate Bridge. As we leave the harbor, we notice many ships anchored in the bay, waiting to come in and load up, it looks like, since they're riding so high. This is the route we'll be following. We'll see killer whales here and harbor seals there. Along the way, the naturalist will show us what we're going to be looking for. And here's a orca tooth. Soon we have arrived off the entrance island. We'll locate the orca, and this is the family that we'll be looking at today. Orca are the largest of the dolphins. They're 20 to 26 feet long, weigh over 6 tons, have a large social structure, and live about 30 to 50 years in the wild. The pictures aren't going to be the best in the world since we're looking directly into the sunlight, but this is what we saw, and we hung with them for about an hour. As we watch the orca, let's listen to some of the underwater sounds that they make that I downloaded off the internet. Normally you're supposed to stay several hundred yards away as you observe them, but sometimes they swim up to you, and our closest encounter was when they swam up to our ship for a few minutes. And then it was time to say goodbye to the orcas and head back in. As we head back in, we notice in the evening several large cruise ships heading out toward Alaska. The ferry ship is also carrying its cargo of cars and people as it visits various ports and creates a water highway. On the way in, we'll visit Bowen Island and look around in this area a little bit to see if we can see any other wildlife. Soon we start to see some splashes in the water and some bodies on land, and they're harbor seals. They're 6 feet long and about 300 pounds. You can notice several harbor seals in the water with just their heads sticking up, and some on land also. As we have been going along the coast of West Vancouver, we now come to the Lighthouse Park. And then it's time to head back into the harbor. We'll pass under the Lions Gate Bridge again as we enter the harbor. The harbor is as busy as usual, loading ships and sending cargo around the world. Here they're loading the sulfur on to send off to some Asian country. And then we're heading back into the dock. I'd like to have that one for my boat. We offload, and the Ocean Magic goes to get ready for another day as we head home. As we walk back to the car, we see they have a sense of humor. Notice also they have a Hillary and a Bill Clinton dog toy also. And then it's off to Maple Ridge for the night.
Well, I am glad you chose to wait on your Prince of Wales trip. I am sure glad those killer whales decided not to come over here, as I might have been lunch if they had. Glad you got to see them, though I know it was a thrill to see the wildlife, and I am glad you were able to catch some of my relatives on the rocks and in the water. Well, have a good trip back to Maple Ridge and a wonderful time at the zoo tomorrow. I might try to catch your ship as it leaves for Alaska day after tomorrow, and I will tell my cousins up there to look out for you when you are there.
And this brings us to the end of day 5.